Hello everyone, welcome to Katharine's Creatures, episode 13. In this series, we get to talk a little bit about mythological creatures, beast beings, and the like from mythologies from all around the world. And I always preface by saying that I am not a linguist, so if I mess up any pronunciation, it's not intentional, and I do apologize in advance. Now, today I'm kind of going over to the Greco-Roman mythos, and I'm going to actually talk about the differences and the similarities between the faun and the satyr. Now, fauns you may have heard about if you've read C.S. Lewis's The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. And in appearance, you know, people get them very muddled and mixed up with satyrs, which I'll get to in a moment again. Now, fauns, or Roman, they actually came after the fact, and as most Roman mythology, everything was pulled from its neighbor/predecessor, the Greeks. So, fauns come from a deity's name called Faunus, and the Romans believed that deity, along with a goddess, produced this race of goat people. In truth, fauns were inspired by the Greek satyrs, and satyrs were associated with the god Pan. Now, goat people, both of them have been described as half man, half beast. Fauns more so with the sense of the lower legs, horns, and tails of a goat, and all the other parts of the torso, head, arms, and chest were all of man. And they're a little larger in depiction than satyrs originally were. Satyrs, though later on taking more of appearance of a goat, were originally actually half horse, which is kind of interesting. They actually had the hooves and the tails of a horse, and everything else was of a man. And there are other differences between the two mythological beings, essentially. Fauns being a little more playful, a little more foolish and quick to trick, while satyrs were always kind of thought of as actually quite intelligent and maybe far more womanizing. We're worded as that. They liked the ladies. But essentially, they're a lot very similar, and as evolution of mythos goes, satyrs came first, and their appearance began to change, and toward the later part of the Greek era and the beginning of the Romans inspired what we know as fauns today. One of the most famous satyrs in mythos is one called Silenus, and he actually educated Dionysus, the god of wine. And so Dionysus in his mythos is always known for fun parties. Again, he likes hanging around with the nymphs and always had satyrs in kind of his entourage. Kind of goes back to the fact that his teacher was a satyr himself. And also, if you have watched Hercules from Disney, the animated one, you will have seen that Hercules in that rendition was trained by a satyr himself. His name was Phil, no association with the mythological Silenus, because in mythology, Hercules was actually trained by someone else. But that's for a story for another day. But the fact that fauns and satyrs crop up in modern films, movies to date, books, of course, and depictions of them go from art from the classical period and, of course, all the way earlier to the Greco-Roman era. It's kind of good to be aware of them and also know the differences between both faun and satyr, because I actually had to familiarize myself with them fairly recently when I was trying to incorporate them into one of my book series. So if you have any questions for me about this or any other thing, just let me know in the comments below or on my social media. And until next time, Skål.